let's get started. So we're going to get started with the mudra practice. And this particular mudra practice is for harnessing the mind. Okay, so we're going to talk about mudras for emotions. We're going to talk about mudras for grounding, for centering, for different energies, for different elemental energies. But this and energizing, but specifically this one is for this sequence here is for harnessing the mind. So let's start with this one. So the first mudra is called Hakini Mudra, and these are all mudras that are in the manual, and we'll deal with them all separately later. So Hakini Mudra, we take the pads of the fingers and bring them all together. And then we have just like the hands are not totally together, there's a space. Okay, so we're just lightly bringing the pads of the fingers and the thumbs together. And then we just hold that at the, just close to the body. You'll probably end up somewhere around your heart center. You don't have to worry about shifting it up or down. Just relax your shoulders, relax your elbows, and then wherever your hands go, your hands go. Okay, so we've just got that little, we're not touching the hands together. The heels of the hands are not touching, and the backs of the hands are not touching. We're just only touching the pads of the fingers. And then relaxing the shoulders and closing the eyes. And some of the mudras we can use mantras for, and we'll talk about which mantras to use for specific mudras. But mantra yoga is another whole other branch of yoga, which is amazing and fascinating and very powerful. So we're going to use the mantra of Om, and just resting the shoulders and relaxing the hands. And closing the eyes. And we're going to do the Om mantra, so you can join in if you like, or just relax and enjoy the vibrations of the sounds. And then after the mantra trails off, you can continue to mentally repeat that in your mind if you wish. It just helps the mind to keep a point of focus. Or you can focus on the breath or noticing any sensations that may be there. Om. 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 Mm, 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 mm. Mm. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And slowly release your hands. Just let them rest in your lap. You can keep your eyes closed for a moment if you like. And just take a few relaxed breaths. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, Hakini Mudra balances out the right and left brain activity of the right and left brain hemispheres. So you know how we do alternate nostril breathing, and that balances out the right and left brain hemispheres, the activity of them. This one does the same kind of thing. So it's a good practice to do before you have some mental task to move into, which today we do, right? We're moving into the learning of the mudras. So that's why I've chosen this one. And it also balances out the energies. So we're going to learn later, but each of our fingers is associated with a elemental energy. So we have earth, water, fire, air, and ether, right? And what we're doing here is we're connecting those energetic currents of the elemental energies and bringing them like so that we create a circuit so that the energies are not kind of like going out everywhere. We're going to learn more about that later, but basically anywhere we have nerve endings, like for example, the ends of the fingers or the ends of the toes, that is a place where energy can be lost. We can lose energy. And by taking things together, you know, whether it's do like this or doing like this or like in any way, right? The connections between these energetic currents, it's like these are live wires, right? And so we connect them in specific ways to create specific reactions, to create specific changes in the mind and changes in the energetic body. So, and in the physical body as well. So that's what that one is all about. And then we have the next one, which again is taking all of those elemental energies and bringing them together. So we have all of the fingers touching each other in this little, like this. And it's just going to rest upward in our lap. So if you have your knees bent, you can have them out to the sides. If you have in your lap, you can just point them upward. Mudras can be done sitting. Some of them can be done lying down as well. So, you know, in your final shavasana is another time where you can use some of these mudras. Some of them are too complicated to be using while you're trying to relax in shavasana, but something simple like this one can be used. And some can be used while you're walking as well. So it's a nice practice that you literally can kind of do anywhere. And especially, you know, for things like anxiety, it's something you can do really, you know, discreetly anywhere, right? So whether it's, you know, you're sitting in, you know, at your desk at work and you're kind of stressed, you can just take your hands in a specific position that's helpful for grounding or one that really resonates with you. And just go ahead and do that mudra, right? You can kind of do them anywhere, which is why it's really, really useful practice. So that first mudra, we did it cold, meaning we didn't do any warm up ahead of time. It's helpful to do a warm up for your hands because mudra it's kind of like a yoga for the hands, right? And some of them are a little bit more, that was a fairly easy one, but some of them are more complicated and we're, you know, making pretzel shapes with our hands. And it's easier if we've warmed up our hands and fingers first. So that's one reason why you would warm up the hands. And the other is that it just helps to, it helps you to make that physical energetic connection so that you can start to feel what is happening in the energetic body a little bit more easily. Okay, so what I mean is sensations of prana. Okay, sensations of energy. So we're going to do a warm up now before we do our next mudra. So we're going to do this later. Again, we're going to go in everything in specifics, but let's just practice it first so that we get a feel of what we're doing. So first I want you to you're just going to take the thumbs and rub them in little circles on the pads of your fingers. So we can start with the index fingers, just rubbing in little circles, just to create a little bit of warmth, a little bit of heat, a little bit of connection, and awareness of sensation. Okay? And then we're going to do the middle finger, little circles over here. And then the ring fingers. Yeah, we can see this is like so much better, this course online, because you can see really closely my hands. In person, it's a little harder. And then the baby fingers, little fingers. And as you're doing some of these things in Mudra Yoga, you're going to notice like some fingers work better than others, and some are more awkward, some are more easy, right? That's just how it is. That's just how your fingers are. It's okay. Good. And then we're going to take the nails together and just rub the nails together. And this just brings some warmth and sensation into the nails. In some of the mudras, we make connections with the nails. And also interesting, my husband Rahul, who you'll meet later, he's going to teach some Sanskrit, the pronunciations for those mudras. When I first met him, he used to do this. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? He says it's helpful for hair loss. So in his case, it wasn't that helpful, or maybe he didn't do it enough, but yeah. But you can start to feel now, like maybe in the beginning you didn't feel much, but then, as we continue to go, you can feel a little bit more in the thumbs. Good. And then we're going to take the hands and we're going to take the right hand to the left hand and just massage this little space in between the thumb and the index finger. Just nice and loose. Keep your hand relaxed and just massage that spot there. This is also an acupressure point, which is good for headaches. And then we're going to go in between the index and middle finger. Just massaging that web in between the hands. This is probably a part that you have never had a massage on before. It's not really common unless you've had an Ayurvedic massage maybe, or sometimes they do it when you go to get a pedicure. But this is a nice massage for the insides. And then switching to the baby finger and the ring finger. Good. And you guys, I'm just doing this up like this, but you can just relax your hands and do it. I don't have to see you doing it. And then we're going to switch to the other hand. So hopefully you could feel some warmth, maybe some heat in that hand, a little bit of, yeah. And then we're going to do the other side. So first starting with the space in between the thumb and the index finger, massaging, just nice and relaxed. And then massaging in between the index finger and the middle finger. And then middle finger and ring finger. And little finger and ring finger. And I'm taking your palms together, totally together now. And we're going to push the index finger from right to left, just the index finger. Yeah, doesn't have to be too hard, just keep it gentle. And then the middle finger. Just the fingers. We'll do the wrists later, but for now, just the fingers. And then the ring finger. This one's hard. All the fingers want to move at the same time as the ring finger. That's okay. Just warming up the joints of the fingers. And then the baby finger, little finger moving side to side. It's hard to completely isolate it. As long as we're moving that baby finger, it's okay if some of the others move as well. And then the thumbs. And then thumbs in and out. And now the wrists, side to side. And linking your hands together. And open up your palms towards you. Press your palms towards you. So you're making a concave shape with the back of your hands, and the palms are coming towards you. So we're stretching out the fingers and the palms. And then pushing your hands away from you. Opening up the wrists now. Bringing the palms together and rubbing the hands. And then rubbing the back of the right hand all the way to the wrist. Tips of the fingers to the wrist, nice and fast strokes to create some heat. And then other side, other hand. And then rolling your wrists around in circles. And go both directions. Good. And then open and close the fist. Good. And then we're just going to take the palms to face up, hands in the lap or on the knees. Just close the eyes for a minute. And just noticing sensation in the hand. Maybe noticing the physical aspect of the hands, feeling a little bit more relaxed, a little stretched. Maybe noticing currents of energy in the hands. Maybe tingling or pulsation. We're all going to feel energetic sensations differently, so there is no right or wrong. Just noticing what is, noticing what's there. Maybe you notice heat, maybe you notice coolness. Again, there are no correct answers, it's just noticing what is there. And taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Another deep breath in and a long breath out. All right. So did you notice any like different sensation in the hands? Like the hands just generally feel better. It's nice to give yourself that little self massage on the hands. Okay, so another thing, it's not in your manual, but it's another thing that is nice to add into mudra practice. So if you're doing a mudra practice at the end of a yoga class, it's not necessary because you've already stretched and warmed up the body. But it is nice, especially because mudra practice involves usually sitting. We're going to do a little bit just on the shoulders and the back, just to loosen ourselves up so that we can feel better when we're sitting for the next mudra. Okay, so we're just going to start by rolling the shoulders forward in big circles. So you're going to go up, forward, down, and back, up, forward, down, and back. Nice big circles, using your full range of motion. And because we are really focused on energetic sensation today, you might notice the kind of surges of energy as you start to stretch out these muscles, as you start to move things to create a freer flow of prana, of energy. Good. And then we're going to circle back, big circles. So we're going to go forward, up, back, and down. Big circles with the shoulders. And taking deep breaths in, long breaths out, letting go of any tension that comes up, bring it up and out. Good. And inhale, shrug the shoulders up, tense them up by the ears, and exhale, drop. Inhale, tense. Exhale, drop. Inhale, tense. And exhale, drop. Good. And just resting the hands either on the knees or in the lap. And we're just going to do a little bit of isolation with the back and the chest. So inhale to squeeze the shoulder blades together, press out the chest. And exhale, round the back, drop the chin. Inhale, lifting the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And exhale, rounding. Inhale, lifting. And exhale, rounding. Nice and easy. Inhale, expanding. Exhale, contracting. Inhale. Exhale. And last one, deep breath in. And release. Good. A little bit of a twist to one side. Twist to the other side. And we'll just keep moving back and forth between these two positions a few times. Twisting from side to side, loosening up the lower back. Release. And last one, we're going to raise the right arm up and just tip over to the left. Deep breaths into the ribs. This is just going to help us with some easier breathing as we go through those mudras. And then over to the other side, rounding the side of the body. And inhale up and exhale, release. Good. All right. So let's start with the next mudra now that our hands and our body are warmed up. And we'll see if there's a difference. See if you notice a difference holding a mudra when you've done some warm up in advance. And, the thing that's interesting is we're doing a different mudra now, right? So some mudras that we do in this course are going to resonate with you instantly and you'll feel it instantly. And others, you're going to be like, didn't really do much for me, and that's okay, and that's normal, and it happens with everybody that some are just going to resonate with you and others are not going to, right? So it could be the case, if you don't feel as much now that we're warmed up, that's totally fine. um, and you may not feel anything. So the reality is you are making energetic connections, and this is the same that is true for your students. They will be making energetic connections whether they can feel or experience those or not. It is happening, right? So you're getting the benefits whether you can feel that or not, okay? So we're going to take that Samana Mudra again. So we're taking all the fingers towards each other so that they're all touching and they're in this little tiny little package here, okay? And then the hands are going to face up in your lap. So either out to the sides on your knees or thighs, or on your thighs if your feet are together. And just closing the eyes again. So first we want to take that position with the hands, but then soften it, just like we do in the yoga poses, right? So first we get into position and it's very mechanical, it's a little bit tight, a little bit awkward, and then we soften into the pose. Well, it's the same with the mudras. We're softening into the mudra, relaxing the hands, keeping that energetic connection of all the fingers together, but with as little effort as possible. And this Samana Mudra, and you can just listen with eyes closed as you hold this mudra. Samana Mudra is a centering and balancing mudra. We're bringing all of those elemental energies together. And we're also stimulating the specific type of prana, the specific type of energy that moves from the outside in. So if you can imagine that energy moving towards the center, and in this case, the center is the navel center. This mudra is good for physical digestion. So you imagine this energy moving inward in this churning function. And this is this energy which is responsible for our digestion of foods, but also our digestion of sensations and of thoughts. So this is why I've chosen this mudra to begin our training. So it will help to center us and help us to digest the thoughts which will be presented. And again, I'm going to chant the Om Mudra. If you like, you can chant that along at home as well, or you can just relax and listen to the chant. And once the chant trails off, we continue to mentally repeat that mantra if you like, if it helps you to stay focused. If you're joining in, taking a deep breath in now. Om. Oh, 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 oh.
Hello. All right. So let's get started looking at our manual. So if you've got a copy of that handy, we're going to dig into that now. And we're going to start on page 2. Well, actually, we'll start at the welcome. So this is a quote from one of the tantras, which is translated by Swami Shivananda, and it says, "There is nothing in this world like the mudras for giving success." And you'll notice that mudra has a line over top of the A. So that's intentional because to properly pronounce mudra in Sanskrit, it's mudra with a long mudra instead of mudra, but it's just easier as an English speaker to say mudra. So I'm going to use the word mudra in our courses. But just so you know, if you're interested in the proper pronunciation in Sanskrit, it's mudra. And Rahul will come later to give you a little lesson in the Sanskrit and how to pronounce the names of these mudras. Okay, so I start all my courses exactly the same, just a little refresher about what yoga is so that we remember that whatever it is that we're learning, whether it's mudra yoga or restorative yoga or whatever the course may be, we always start with the foundational understanding of what yoga is in the first place so that we understand that the practice that we're learning is a part of that, right? It's not this separate thing. It is a part of that. It is a stream leading to that yoga ocean. Okay. So what is yoga? We can, there are so many ways, so many definitions we could give for yoga. Here are just a few. So yoga is a spiritual practice at its core, which has a physical component to it. The important part there to think about is that it's not primarily a physical practice that has this spiritual side to it. Yoga in its true essence is a spiritual practice, and one of those streams, it has a physical component to it. Even though, a lot in our Western world, we're really focused on the physical aspect of it. But just so we know, in essence, yoga practice is actually a spiritual practice. It's also a science of spirituality involving techniques. And this is particular when we're talking about hatha yoga or tantra yoga or this mudra yoga, kundalini yoga, right? It all comes from tantra practice. That's why that mudra quote is from one of the tantras, because mudra yoga is a tantric practice. It comes from that tradition of tantra. And in the tantra tradition, tantra yoga is all about using the physical body and the breath to manipulate energy for spiritual awareness or awakening or realization. Okay, so using the physical and the energetic for those spiritual purposes. And that's exactly what mudra is. We're using the physical, we're using energetic connections for spiritual benefit. We also get those side benefits of, physical health and health in the energetic body as well. But the main goal is the spiritual. And that may not be the case for you. For you, yoga might not feel like a spiritual practice, and that's okay. If that's how you feel with your yoga practice, that's totally fine, because as I said, all of those other things are there as well. So that's also the same with your students. Your students may not be interested in the spiritual aspects of it. They may be more interested in the physical or energetic, and that's fine. All of that is there for them as well. Yoga is the stilling of the waves of the mind. right? This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Spiritual practices that have many positive side effects for the body, the mind, and the energy, which I just talked about. And the philosophy of yoga tells us that we are not a body with a soul, we are a soul with a body. So just like it's not, yoga is not a physical practice with a spiritual component, same here, sometimes we think we identify a lot with the body, and we think we're this body with this kind of like spiritual part to us. But actually, from a yoga perspective, we see it the other way around. You are primarily that soul within, and the body is just the casing for that soul at this particular time. So again, we're interested in that inner part more than the external part. And the external parts are just tools that we can use to help us to connect with that inner part of ourselves. We have 3 bodies from a yoga perspective. We have that physical body, which we're very aware of. We have the energetic body, which is the system of chakras, nadis, which are the energy currents. Chakras are the energy centers. And then we also have prana, different types of prana energy, and it moves in different ways, which we'll talk about today, the different types of pranas. And then the third body that we have is the causal body. And we don't talk at all really about the causal body in the Mudra yoga training, but just know that that is the subtlest layer of self. So the grossest layer of self is a physical body. A little bit more subtle than that is the energetic body. And then even more subtle than that is the causal body. And the causal body is all of the impressions of all of the lives lived, the samskaras, the impressions. That's where the karmas are held in the causal body. And then all of that, the impressions of all the past lives or of this life, leads to the manifestation of the energetic body and the manifestation of the physical body. So that causal body, the impressions, is like the blueprint that the other 2 bodies are made out of. So it's really important. And that's why yoga nidra practice is so important, because in yoga nidra practice, we go deep to the level of the causal body to change the blueprint so we can affect change in the energy body and the physical body. Okay, and then there are 5 aspects to the self. These are the koshas. You might know them from your 200-hour training. So we have the physical, energetic, mental, intellectual, and bliss sheaths. Yoga tells us that there's only one unified reality. And that unified reality is called Brahman. Brahman is real. Maya, this manifest universe, is illusion. And Brahman and Atman, so Brahman being this unified reality, or you can think of it as pure consciousness. You can think of it as the substratum of all existence. You can think of it as the supreme soul, that one soul of everything. That is Brahman. And so Brahman and Atman, which is the individual soul, are one. So it seems like they are separate. And that's what, from a yoga perspective, that's what causes the suffering in our lives, is that we feel separated. We feel alone. We feel like it's us against the world. But yoga helps to try to give us some comfort and help us to find peace in knowing that our individual soul is one and the same as the supreme soul. So our individual consciousness is actually the same as pure consciousness or all-pervading consciousness. It's actually one and the same. And yoga helps us in many different ways to break down those barriers between the two and give us a glimpse of that. And that's yoga at its highest expression, is those kinds of things. And that's a philosophy of yoga, which is called Vedanta. So we also, yoga also teaches us that we are not the body, we are not our minds, we are not our emotions, we're not our intellect, we're not our senses. Right? These are things that we hear with mindfulness as well. Buddhism teaches us these things as well. But we are not any of those things. We are that which is the witness of all of those things. We are that consciousness that is witnessing those emotions. The consciousness is witnessing those changes in the body. Consciousness which is witnessing those energetic sensations. So even when we do mudra practice and we notice changes in the body, we notice sensations of energy, we notice the mind start to settle, or the mind start to race, or the mind start to move into a different dimension altogether. We are that which is witnessing all of that. Yeah. And so eventually when we get into those deeper meditative states, we get a little closer, we get a little glimpse of that, of feeling that, experiencing that, not just thinking it, but experiencing it. Okay, so that's just a little background to just kind of get us into the what is it that we're doing, because mudra yoga is a really high practice of yoga. So for our purposes, it's really great because it's simple. Most of these hand positions are really simple to do. As I said, you can do it anywhere, you can do it anytime. You don't need to do a warm-up. It's helpful if you do. You don't need to understand yogic philosophy. It's helpful if you do. But they're very accessible to people, which is great for our purposes. But also understand that mudra yoga is one of the highest practices of hatha yoga or of tantra yoga, because we're dealing in a more subtle realm than the physical, right? So in the asanas, we're doing the, if you think about the, Patanjali's, his Ashtanga yoga is 8 steps, asanas are near the bottom. And then we get into pranayama, which is a little bit more subtle. And then we get into pratyahara, which is the drawing inward, right? So I told you before, mudra yoga is this inward drawing, right? So it's a little bit physical, right? We're doing something with the body. It's a little bit energetic because we are making these energetic connections with this, like, it's almost like we have tiny little chakras in the fingers. We're making energetic connections between these mini chakras in the hands, the marma points. And we're also dealing with the mind. So this is an inward practice. It is a type of pratyahara where we are drawing the mind inward. And we do that, for example, when we do chin mudra, this is a mudra, specifically a pratyahara mudra. It's for sealing the mind. It's for making the mind settle down, to settle in, to stop it from oscillating outward. So this is a practice of pratyahara, of the withdrawal of the senses. And it's also a practice of concentration, right? The next level on the 8 steps of yoga. And it's also a meditative practice. So it is one of the high practices of yoga. But it's also accessible, and we can access it on those lower steps of yoga as well, the physical, energetic, withdrawing of the senses, concentration, and then eventually meditation, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so this is a quote from Swami Ramdev. Do you guys know Swami Ramdev? You do? Yeah. He's He's an Indian yoga teacher. He's really popular. He's got like a TV show in India, and he teaches yoga. He travels all over India teaching people yoga. And so this is from one of his books, and he says, in addition to the 8 steps of yoga, so the Ashtanga, the Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga, the 8 steps of yoga, the limbs. He says, in addition to that, mudra are also very important. Mudras are the developed forms of asanas. In asanas, senses are primary and prana is secondary, whereas in mudras, senses are secondary and prana is primary. So what he's getting at there is that we're dealing on a more subtle level with mudra yoga. So what is a mudra? Let's talk about what exactly is it, because there's different types of mudras. So we'll talk about this. So according to one of the tantras, mudra is that which removes pain and sorrow. That which brings about happiness is called a mudra. And in the Sanskrit roots, if we look at the etymology of the word, mud is delight or pleasure. Drave, the causal form, which is drew, is to draw forth. So to draw forth delight, to bring forth delight, removing pain and sorrow. In the tantric definition of a mudra dissolves negative energies and enhances the positive energies. It is a psychic, emotional, devotional, aesthetic gesture or attitude. So it could be a lot of those things. It can be devotional. We're going to talk about Anjali Mudra, right? So when we're doing like prayer to a guru or we praying at a temple, we're moving this mudra, right? We're using this mudra here. Whereas if we're just greeting people to say, namaste or hello, we're using that mudra here. But there's a use of that mudra for devotional purposes, right? But then we can also use mudras as an aesthetic gesture, right? So there's a whole form of, I think it's called Bharatnatyam. I might get the pronunciation wrong. But there's a form of Indian yoga that uses a lot of hand gestures as a part of the dance. So it could be an aesthetic gesture, but it is also a psychic and emotional attitudes of energy flow intended to link individual energy forces to universal energy force. So we talked about the individual, the Atman, and the Supreme, right? So in the same way, we're linking our individual energy force into that source energy source. Source energy source. And mudras, usually we hear this definition in the 200-hour training. A mudra is a seal or a shortcut or a circuit bypass for prana, which is our life force. Prana is energy, life force, or vital energy, or the mind. So we can seal in energy, or we could seal the mind from moving outward. We could seal the mind into a particular attitude, right? So we can seal energy or the mind. And mudras involve subtle physical movements that alter mood, attitude, perception, energy, and deepen awareness and concentration. So they are subtle. As I said, it's a subtle practice. There's not much going on. It's a slow practice. Will probably not be an easy practice to come to if you were used to like only doing power yoga or something, or you didn't really do many quiet practices. But for people who, enjoy meditative practices, who enjoy restorative yoga or gentle yoga or slower moving things, it's an easier transition into mudra yoga. But if, for people that have like a super active mind and super active body, it can be difficult to slow down enough to practice mudra yoga. Mudra yoga history and practice. So mudras, as I said, Well, yeah, so they originate from the Vedic tradition, but they were expanded upon more deeply in the tantric tradition. So as I said before about them being a part of the tantric tradition, this is where we get this, kind of explosion of many different forms of mudras. And mudras, they could be hand mudras. So far we've only talked about hand mudras, but there are some yoga poses which are mudras because they're connecting these energetic points. You can do different mudras, like when we sometimes, like when we bring like the toes together, the tips of the toes together in a yoga pose, what we're doing is a mudra. We're creating that energetic connection, that energetic circuit, right? And there are specific poses that are specifically for sealing a type of energy. The poses for meditation. So the different seated positions, I don't know if you guys learned that in your 200 hour, but there are different ways to sit for meditation, and they fold the legs in different ways. Well, those are meant to seal the energy in specific ways, right? So there's one where like the heel is under the perineum because we're sealing that sexual energy, right? So there are these seated positions for meditation, or there's another one where the toes are both tucked under the legs. So the toes are not, up and free, they're tucked under because those are, at the ends of the toes is like energetic live currents. And so we're tucking them in. So lots of different types of mudras, but they originated from the Vedic tradition. And we know this because we see some of those seated meditative postures in some of the artwork from the Vedic times. And there are texts which talk about the mudras as well. But then they kind of exploded with the tantric tradition, which came much later. Mudras are considered by some as a standalone limb of yoga, right? So like Ramdev was saying that beyond the 8, there's also this other thing, Mudra yoga. We can practice mudras one by one or in a series. So today we did 2 kind of in a series. We took a little break in between. The YouTube video that I sent you, that one is more of a series. We can create sequences in series, which we'll talk about later. But you can also just do like a one-off mudra. If, for example, you're feeling a little bit spacey, you can do the mudra for the earth element to help to create a little bit of that earth energy and just kind of ground yourself. There are hundreds of mudras in use at current times. There are no classical texts that list them all, just like the yoga poses, right? Like there's no one book that has them all. So mudras is exactly the same because there were different teachers trying different things and experiencing different things. Oh, if they're in meditation, they're realizing these things. If I do this happens. I get this energetic sensation, or I seal the mind in this particular way. So we have these different expressions. There are many ways to classify mudras. For example, by parts of the body used, by application, for example, meditation, dance, therapeutic treatment. So there are a whole set of mudras that are used specifically for physical therapy. And as I said, dance, meditation as well. Mudras are not only hand gestures, the hasta mudras. There are sarvanga mudras, which use the entire body. So for example, Agni Sara and Viparita Karani. So Viparita Karani, but not like the one where you just have your legs up on the wall. So it looks like a shoulder stand, but the back is a little bit more angled. So it's kind of like this, rather than the legs being straight up, it's kind of like this shape. So that Viparita Karani and Agni Sara. So Agni Sara is, do you guys know what Agni Sara is? You do? Yeah. You don't. Okay. So Agni Sara is when we do abdominal pumpings. And so what we do is we involve the Uddiyana Bandha. We pull in all of the abdominal organs up into the thoracic cavity. So we hollow out the belly and then move the abdomen in and out. It's like similar. We're doing something similar to the starting of Noli. Do you guys know Noli, where the central abdominal muscles kind of like churn? Have you ever seen that? It's like for digestion and cleansing, and they do it during pranayama as well. Anyway, this is what Agnisara is. It's a type of abdominal pumping. And this is also a type of a mudra. And then Chakshu mudras use the eyes, Shiro mudras use the head, Mano mudras, the mind. So different types of mudras. And if we turn the page, we can see even more of these different types of mudras. So Hasta mudras is what this course is about. We're going to talk only about the hand mudras, specifically the hand mudras. And as I said, there's like hundreds of those in use today. But we're going to talk about, I think there's about 35 of them, maybe 30 or 35 that we'll go through today. So it'll give you a nice variety of mudras you can use. So yeah, Hasta mudras are hand gestures. They could be used for physical health. They could be used for spiritual enlightenment. They could be used for dance and expression. They could be used for meditation. Chikitsa mudras are therapeutic treatment mudras, and they can combine with herbal therapy, color therapy, yoga therapy. So these are a part of Ayurveda, these therapeutic mudras. Yoga mudras, these are specific yoga poses. Not all yoga poses are mudras, but there are some. For example, yoga mudra, where we have you have like the fists at the navel center. Fists are kind of stacked at the navel center, and you're in this cross-legged position and folding forward. So this is a specific mudra at the navel center, navel chakra. Pranayama mudras enhance the pranayama practice. So for example, Vishnu mudra. So this is the one we use for alternate nostril breathing, right? That's called Vishnu mudra, where we tuck the first two fingers out of the way, and then we use the ring finger and the thumb for blocking the nostrils. Jhana mudras, which are used during meditation. Puja mudras, which pujas are religious or worship ceremonies, and they invoke energies of a specific deity. And also we can extend offerings and hospitalities through mudras to deities. So for example, there's a Ganesha mudra, which is Ganesha is one of the Hindu gods. Adhyatmika mudras, which are used in Jnana Yoga, which is the yoga of philosophy, and in Vedantic practice, so used during philosophy practice. Bandha mudras, which are locks. So for example, the Mula Bandha is a type of mudra. Mudras and bandhas are not exactly the same, but it's similar. Chakra mudras for chakra meditations. And then Adhara mudras, which are base mudras, which are for the perineum, for sublimating the sexual energy, like the one that I said where we've got the legs crossed for meditation. Okay. So there's a lot. Are you already like, did you know all this stuff already? Is this all new? Is there some new stuff? I'm curious about you, Lisa. Is any of this new, or you knew all of this already?
Most of this I knew already, but it's interesting anyway.
Okay, good. All right. So the benefits of the mudras. Who is a modern day yoga teacher, she says, with the regular practice of mudra, we open what is closed inside and close what is opened outward. So like the senses are opened outward, we close those, and then we open what is closed inside, which is that internal connection to the self. If you practice mudras, you will know their merits yourself. There is no proof more convincing than one's own experience. And that's Swami Shivananda. And really that's true of all the yogic practices, is that, you know, your teacher or anybody can tell you the benefits of doing this or that practice, but you really only know it and you really only believe it until you've experienced it for yourself. So that's why I said, you know, some of these mudras you're going to resonate with, some you won't. And that's okay. This is kind of how it is. We're here to experience. Benefits of mudras: focusing and calming the mind, balancing energies for physical and mental health, grounding, activating energies, boosting immunity and enhancing vitality, becoming aware of and learning to control subtle energy. So it can be a helpful practice. It will be interesting if you have Marcia, because you mentioned Reiki, and I don't know how to do Reiki, but I'm aware a little bit of what it's all about. It'll be interesting to see, you know, where are those kind of connections between Reiki, because from my understanding, Reiki is, you know, you need to be aware of subtle energies, and mudra practice is one of those things which can help us to become aware of and move or channel different energies. Mudras establish pranic balance within the koshas and enable redirection of prana to the higher chakras, including higher states of consciousness. Nadis and chakras constantly radiate prana that normally escapes from the body. Mudras create barriers to the leaking of prana and redirect it inward. Especially helpful mudras are for people who work transmitting prana through the hands. So for example, for Reiki or Qigong, because they generally lose prana. So when you are doing Reiki practice, you know, or any practices where it's like a hands-on type of practice or an energetic type of practices, you can lose energy. So this is a way to help you to draw it back inward or prevent yourself from losing it, to seal it. Once prana is redirected inward, the mind becomes introverted, inducing pratyahara, sense withdrawal, and dharana, concentration. And mudras help you to slow down, settle into your rest and digest baseline, so the parasympathetic nervous system, making you overall healthier person. And they help you become aware of the more subtle aspects of the self and point us toward realization of the eternal, true, and radiant self within, which is the ultimate goal of yoga. Okay, so lots of benefits for this practice. General tips for mudra practice. So lots of different, you know, ways we can do this. We can practice, these are just general tips where, you know, they were kind of things I wanted to get across, but they didn't fit into any specific categories. It's kind of a miscellaneous section here that catches everything. You can practice mudras one by one or in a series. We talked about that. It can be like finger yoga. We talked about that. So you need to kind of warm up the hands. Generally, you hold a mudra with both hands, but not always. And sometimes the right hand will be doing one thing and the left hand doing something else, for example. Yeah, fingers straight. So when we're holding mudras, we want to have the hands in the position that we're trying to get them into, but we also want to soften it. So we don't want to hold it stiff and tense, right? Like all yoga practices, we don't want to be tense. We want to be soft with our holding of it so that we're relaxed and we stimulate that relaxation. So although, like, you know, for example, like if I'm trying to hold Chin Mudra, I want to have my fingers, I don't want my fingers to be apart because then the energies are kind of not connecting. So I want those energies to be connecting. I want this to be connecting with the other finger. So everything is connecting, but also, and you know, we're having this connecting as well. But if I'm holding it like really stiff, right? So I'm making, like, for example, this like perfectly straight line, then there's a lot of tension in my hand. So I just allow it to soften. And then I can hold it comfortably and it's not a distraction for me, right? Yeah. So you're using a little energy to hold things together. And now the thing that's interesting is that anatomy in the fingers is also different for everybody, right? So some people will like have difficulty to bring the fingers together. And it could be because, you know, the muscles are not strong enough to bring things together. It could be because the shape of the fingers, it could be because of injuries in the fingers. So basically we're just doing our best to try to make these shapes, but without stressing about, you know, if it's exactly textbook perfect or not, right? So we do what we can, same as with the yoga poses. We try to come to it as best as we can, but without tension. Yeah, when we're holding it, you know, we want the rest of our body to be relaxed as well, which is why I like to, you know, relax the shoulders first, do a little bit for the back. You know, if you notice, we did all the spinal movements. We did back bends and forward bends. We did side bends and we did twists, right? The only one we didn't do was inversions, but we did all of the spinal movements. It was super quick to do, but it just kind of helps because with Mudra Yoga, because it is an energetic practice, we want the spine to be feeling good and we want to be able to sit up straight without tension and without pain. So it's not accessible for everybody. Not everybody can sit up straight without pain. And so if you can't, then what you need to do is to sit up on something or sit on something where you have support. So for example, if you have people who are not strong enough to sit up straight, they can sit in a chair where there's a supportive backing on it, right? Just to give some support, or they could sit against a wall, sit as a wall to give the support, right? If they're not strong enough to sit up straight on their own. Also, if there's inflexibility in the body, right? So for example, if you've got this kind of hunched position, an easy fix is just to put a cushion or a couple of cushions or a yoga bolster or whatever block to sit on, sitting on the sits bones. So you guys know what the sits bones is, the two bones in your bum. Sitting on that and letting the legs fall forward so that the hips can open and then the back can start to straighten up. But it is important to have this straight spine when we're doing mudra practice, because it is an energetic practice. And the central energetic channel, the Sushumna Nadi, runs along the spinal column. So you want to have a nice upright position when you're practicing mudras, but without tension. So whatever you need to do to help people or yourself hold a nice upright position, whether it's using a chair, using a wall on your back, sitting up on something and letting the legs fall forward, whatever you need to do, but getting into that as upright of a position as possible so that the energy can flow best. And then, yeah, in the daytime, we can hold mudras with the palms up, right? So in the daytime, when the sun is up, the mudras are up because we want to draw in energy. And then in the evening, when the sun is down, we're closing off the energy. And we can do the mudras with the palms down. Okay. So actually, that's the difference. It took me a long time to figure this out. But so this particular position, right? Sometimes people will call it Gyan Mudra, and sometimes people will call it Chin Mudra. And yeah, and I recently learned that when we have the hands facing up, it's Chin Mudra. When the palms are down, it's considered Gyan Mudra. So for the evening time, for the daytime. But yeah, you can hold the mudras with the palms down in the evenings. The wrists are resting on the knees for a seated mudra practice. So if you are sitting with a cross-legged, right, if you're doing it really traditionally, you would be in a cross-legged seated position to practice mudras. for a traditional yoga practice. And the hands will be resting on the knees, right? But as we did this morning, you can rest them on your knees if your feet are together. If you're going to do mudra practice in a chair, it's good to have the soles of the feet grounded, because again, there's those nerve endings in the bottoms of the feet as well, and we want to connect those in with something. So connecting them in with the earth and having the feet grounded is helpful to kind of ground that energy. So you can sit with, just the legs forward and the soles of the feet flat on the ground, and just resting the hands up or down on your thighs. Yeah, so an ideal time for mudra practice is the same ideal time for meditation, Brahma Muhurta, which is this time just as the sun is rising, or the time when the sun is just setting. These are two times of the day when everything is most spiritually charged. So it's the recommended time for meditation or for mudra practice. Again, that said, for practical purposes, you can do mudra practice anytime. But if you really want to be specific about it, Brahma Muhurta would be the best. Hand mudras can be practiced seated, standing, lying down, or walking. And always make sure in any of those cases that your spine is nice and straight. So for example, if you can do them lying down, don't do them lying down on a, with your head propped up on like a dozen pillows, and, you want to have your back flat. Or if you're, spine straight. We want spine straight. So whenever we are in this type of position, that's not ideal for mudra practice. Yeah, back is straight but not rigid, right? So we're softening the neck, softening the shoulders, softening the arms, softening the hands. And you can almost like you can guide people through or feel for yourself that wave of kind of relaxation, starting maybe at the forehead and moving down the neck, the shoulders, the arms to the hands, and then maybe down the whole back, but everything kind of just softening before moving into holding the mudra. Yeah, so 2 to 3 minutes of holding any mudra is a good time. Any less than that isn't really enough time to get the benefits from it. But some mudras you can hold for 20 to 30 minutes for best benefit. So just depends. I mean, you could even, some of them you can hold for even longer than that. For example, Gyan Mudra, if you're doing meditation and you're holding Gyan Mudra, you can hold it for hours if you want. But there's timing listed in this manual as well, so that you know which ones you can hold longer and which ones are better just for a short time. Yeah, we talked about feet grounded, and if you can, remove the footwear as well, just so you really have the contact of the bare feet with the floor. Better even still, contact with the actual like earth. If you could do them outside and have your feet on the earth, it's really nice energetic connection. If you're walking during your mudra practice, you want to walk slowly and with a regularity of the pattern. Mudras can be practiced and with a focused mind, right? So yes, mudras can be, for example, if I was going to do let's say Mushti Mudra. So Mushti Mudra is one where you take the thumb to the ring finger and then you just close it up. And this is one that it can be used for energizing. It could also be used for grounding. So let's say I use that position as I'm walking. So I'm going to go take a walk and I'm going to use that. If I focus the mind on that attitude of grounding and on that energy of grounding, it's going to be different effect than if I'm walking and my mind is thinking about my grocery list or, you know, what my kids are doing or this and that, right? So yes, when we make energetic connections, it is doing something for us, whether we know it or not, or whether we think about it or not. But if we also think about it, is more powerful, because then you're involving more aspects of yourself into that same practice. So yeah, so it's a nice practice to do. You know, it's a meditative type of a walking. Mudras can be practiced on their own or combined with asanas, mantras, etc. Breath should be relaxed and steady. Fingers together for a focused mind. Fingers apart, scattered mind. So we talked about, like, you know, the difference between, you know, doing Yan mudra, and we've got like fingers kind of like just loose and out wide. It's like the mind is scattered, right? So we're bringing the mind in, reining it in. Yeah. General contraindications. So there are a few contraindications. If mudras are over practiced, it can create energetic imbalances or powerful effects that the person might not be ready for, because we are doing manipulations with energy. So, you know, it's not like we're talking about excesses, right? So it's like excesses of anything is no good, and this is just the same. Probably in your 200-hour, maybe your teachers gave you a similar warning about pranayama practice. So like doing too much of the pranayama practice can be not so good, because again, we're dealing with energies and we can throw things off balance if we're not grounding those different types of energy, if there's not a balance, right? So for example, if we're doing a mudra, which is an energizing mudra, but we don't do any other practices like asanas, for example, to help to ground those lifting energies, then we end up imbalanced. Or if we do a mudra practice which helps us to kind of detach from the body, detach from the mind, that can also not be good if we're doing that too much and we still have a life to live, right? It's great to have self-realization, but if you have a mortgage and you have kids and you have other things, it's not the time, right? It's not the time in your life yet to do. So these are the kinds of things where we can kind of go off balance. So just thinking about that, but it's really extremes. It's not really much you have to worry about unless you're going to extremes. In general, like with traditional mudra practice, it's only practiced after you have some proficiency in the other limbs of yoga. So you already have, you know, an understanding and a practice of the asanas. You already have an understanding and a practice of the pranayama. Already have an understanding and practice of pratyahara and the yamas and niyamas. And then you get into the mudras, and that's why I said, like, it's one of those it's higher up in the limbs of yoga, because it is a more subtle practice, and it's easier to do. It's easier to feel the experiences of the mudras if you have that background, but also it's safer because we are manipulating energies. So it's safer if you have kind of purified the system with those other limbs of yoga beforehand. So for example, if somebody was like, depressed, let's say depressed, there's one mudra here, which is the mudra for emptiness. It's a Buddhist mudra for emptiness. But if you know, are dealing with depression and you're practicing that mudra a lot, it's just only going to, it's not going to help you, because you know, you already have work to do to help you with that depression first. And then, you know, then you can get into like these deeper ideas of emptiness in Buddhism or yoga. Yoga is not emptiness, it's more of a fullness, but kind of, we need to have a little bit of the groundwork first. But then there's other mudras which anybody can use, like the Mushti Mudra. Like the Mushti Mudra is one that's It's simple for everybody to use, and it's not, it's just grounding, right? Or grounding or energizing. And so it's not, it's on a psychological level, it's not quite as, I don't know the word, but hopefully you understand what I mean. Do you guys understand? That if you're using the mudras, which are more for spiritual enlightenment or things like that, we're dealing with things on a different level than just like the grounding of the energies of the body or the grounding of the physical parts of the body or things like that. Yeah. Okay. Mudra practice can bestow siddhis. So siddhis are psychic powers. And before attempting mudra practice beyond the basics, you should consult somebody who practices mudras regularly. I would not be one of those people because, as I said, it's been a while since I've practiced them regularly. Yes, I have practiced them regularly in the past. But we're talking about, yes, if you want to take the mudra practice into like a really deep level where you are exploring different higher levels of consciousness, you should find someone that you trust who has also a history of practicing mudras like regularly. Take extra care and be gentle if you have arthritis. Don't practice on a full stomach. So same as regular yoga. We don't want the energy tied up in digestion. And any position that inhibits your ability to breathe deeply. So if you can't breathe for whatever reason, then you just change your position. And then yogic lifestyle is another thing that can help. So for example, if you, as I said, if you have an asana practice, if you have a pranayama practice, if you're practicing a vegetarian diet, all of these types of things will help you to experience the more subtle aspects of the mudra yoga practice. If you don't have those in place, then it's really not a good time to explore the deeper aspects of the mudra yoga practice. Just keep it more on the level where you're at, where it's like, you know, I need help with my anxiety. I need help with my physical grounding. I need help with balancing my elemental energies, you know, these basic things. Okay, let's see what time it is. 11. I've got 11:58. Yes. Okay, so soon. So let's finish up. What do we have here left? Okay, good. So we're just going to finish up with this last page here on the subtle anatomy overview. And then we're going to take a break. We're going to take, for me, it's a lunch break. For you guys, it could be what, a breakfast or dinner or whatever, brunch, or I don't know, whatever you're at. We're going to take a break. We can take, so it's your choice. I always give the choice. We can either take a 1 hour break or we can take a half-hour break and finish earlier. What would you guys prefer? So who would prefer half an hour and finish earlier? Okay, so we'll do that. So we're just going to take a half-hour break once I finish this one page, and then we'll come back and we'll practice that warm-up. I want you guys to teach each other that warm-up. You'll all get a chance to practice leading that warm-up, and then we'll start getting into all of the individual mudras and talk about them. And not only that, but also practice them so we can feel them as well, experience them. Does that sound good? Yeah, okay, good. So most of the rest of the course is just going to be doing the mudras, talking about all the mudras, doing the mudras. So it's we're now finishing up the kind of the book learning. Okay, so this is a quote here. So we're talking about the subtle anatomy, so chakras, nadis, etc. Dr. David Frawley, also known as Vamadeva, he says mudras relate to the marmas, The marmas I didn't mention, I mentioned them briefly, but marmas are energetic pathways between the physical body, energetic body, and the mind. So we have marma points on the tips of our fingers. Remember I said we had like kind of like tiny little chakras? Well, technically they're marma points. So those marma points help us to connect our physical body with our energetic body and our mind, which is why the Hasta mudras affect the physical body, the energetic body, and the mind. So he says, mudras relate to the marmas and nadis. The nadis are the energetic tubes or channels. So they relate, mudras relate to the marmas and nadis, the energy points and currents in the physical and subtle bodies. This can afford them tremendous healing powers and the ability to change how our energy moves and works. So we can make significant changes for ourselves. The 3 bodies. So again, we talked about those 3 bodies. I won't say it again because I kind of did already go over it, but we have those physical, the energetic, and the causal bodies. The 5 sheaths. Again, we also kind of mentioned that, but they're listed here in the Sanskrit and the English, but the physical sheath, energetic sheath, mental, etc. Prana. Prana is vital life force. It is, you can think of it as energy. It's the thing that makes us alive. In mudra practice, we gain awareness of it and learn to direct it. Nadis are astral tubes or channels that carry the energy, that carry the prana. In mudra practice, we affect the flow of prana in the nadis. The marmas are vital points where prana dwells, energy pathways for healing the body, mind, and consciousness. And we stimulate and connect to the marma points. Chakras are energy centers in your astral body or your energy body. And Kundalini is coiled energy at the base of the spine, which is the main focus of tantric yoga practice, is awakening this Kundalini with different types of bodily breath, different types of movements of manipulations of body and breath, so that we can channel this Kundalini energy, wake it up and bring it upward along Sushumna, which is this main energy channel, the main nadi. And we pull it up this main nadi, and along this main nadi are all of the chakras. And when we bring this Kundalini energy up through this central energy channel, this like a tube of energy, when we're pulling it up, we bring it to the different chakras, the energy centers, and that awakens different levels of consciousness. So that's the purpose, so that we can move that individual consciousness, unite it with pure consciousness, with Brahman. So from another tradition, from Vedantic tradition, we have that concept of Brahman, or that supreme soul. So we're reuniting the individual soul and the supreme soul, or individual consciousness and all-pervading consciousness. We're going to start, as promised, with the warm-up. So if you turn to, it should be page 10 in your manual. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's only page 10. We've like been talking for hours. We're only on page 10 of the manual. Okay, but this is the warm-up. So it's exactly what I did in the beginning. The order doesn't really matter. I mean, some things are kind of more subtle, but if you mix up the order, it's okay. If you forget a few things, it's okay. But let's just go over what those things are. So the first thing we did was the rubbing of the thumbs against every finger, okay? Super easy. Then it's the rubbing of the nails, warming up the nails. So thinking about like warming fingers and then nails, and then massaging between the fingers, that nice massage that gets things starting to feel good. And then I think this order is different than what I did, but in the book here it says the rubbing of the hands on the top, right from the wrist to the fingers. And then the palms together, right? So I did palms together first. Personally, I think palms together first works a little bit better because you create some heat in the hands. And then, you know, with that heat and the energy in the hands, then do the back of the hands. I think maybe that's a nicer order. And then holding Anjali Mudra, which is this one here, and then just the fingers going from side to side, right? Each finger one at a time, and then just doing that for, you know, as long as you feel. There's no timings for any of these, just until you're feeling good. And then the wrists, right? So easy to remember because it's fingers and then wrists. And then the hands are already together. So then linking the hands together, pressing the hands. I did hands toward yourself first, right? And then you could do away from yourself. You could do away from yourself even with a nice curve in the back if you wanted to add that. You don't need to, but just, you know, to help warm up the back as well. And then, oh, this is one we didn't do. So, is it even right here? Yeah, we did do this, right? We did do this. We did do rolling the wrists around. One other one that we didn't do, which you could do, is just kind of like pushing the wrist forward and pulling the fingers back, right? You could do that, and then dipping the wrists the other way, right? That's another one that you could do. It's not on the list here, so if you like it, write it down. But that's another one that feels nice, particularly good for the wrists. Be careful though, if you have anybody who has like carpal tunnel syndrome or issues with the wrist, like doing something like that is like not good. It's contraindicated to be doing something like that. So just be careful with the wrists if you have anybody who has wrist issues. So basically that's it. So that's the longer warm up, which you can do if you're, let's say you want to do like a longer mudra yoga practice, or you want to do only a mudra yoga practice, you know, if your plan is to like sit down and do like, you know, a sequence of mudras, do the longer warm up because you really are bringing a little bit more flexibility and energy into the hands and awareness into the hands. But if you're just doing like a quick mudra, like maybe you're going to do a mudra at the end of your yoga class, or you're at work and you just want to do a quick little mudra, you could do a quick warm up. So a quick warm up could be something like this. So we just take, and it's written down here as a quick warm up. But what you would do is you just slap the hands together 3 times, hard enough that you feel like a little bit of like a stinging sensation in the hands. You want to feel something when you're doing this, right? So just clapping the hands together and then rubbing your hands together nice and fast to create some heat and feeling some sensation in the hands. And then turning the palms to face up. You can rest your hands in your lap or on your knees. And just closing your eyes and taking some relaxed breaths. And just noticing the sensation there in the hands. Good. And then you can open your eyes when you're ready. So it's a clap for 3 times, you know, 3 times loudly, and then you're going to rub them for about 1 minute. We didn't do 1 minute there, but you can rub them for whatever length of time until you start to feel the heat and the energy in the hands. And then you can rub the back, if you're doing that quick warm up, if you want to add on to it, you can rub the backs of the hands as well. And you can also kind of interweave the fingers and rub. So when you rub the palms together, instead of just like this, separate the fingers and rub so that you get the insides of the fingers as well, right? And that gives kind of like, it's a kind of a flexible type of a move anyway. So it kind of like loosens up the hands as well. So that's another way that you could do that. Okay, oh, that feels nice. So let's take some turns practicing teaching some of that. So if you, as I said, if you get the order mixed up, it's okay. If you forget some of the things, it's okay. Just from what you can remember, based on us doing it these couple of times, I want you to lead a warm up. You can, as I said, you can use the quick warm up. Quick warm up could be any combination of those things that we've practiced right now. The clapping just really is helpful if you have, especially with newbies who aren't used to noticing sensation. Clapping the hands together and rubbing the palms together, those two really start to, bring some sensation into the hands. So it's easier for people to kind of bring awareness there to the recognition of sensation in the hands. But yeah, you can, do any combination of any of those things that we've done to just warm up the hands, and you can make it as short or as long as you want. It's sometimes nice to do like a really long session of just exercising the hands. It feels really good. With mudra practice, like if you're serious about mudra practice, it is more beneficial to have shorter nails, because otherwise your fingernails are just pressing into your palms or your fingers and it doesn't feel particularly great. So shorter nails are better. And then jewelry as well. So like, rings and stuff can sometimes get in the way and of making like energetic connections. So you might consider taking rings off or asking your students to take rings off while they do the mudra practice. But if you, as I said, like if you're just out and about in the world and you want to do a mudra, then go ahead and do a mudra with whatever jewelry that you've got on, whatever nails that you've got at the time. But yeah, if you want to do it as like a regular practice, shorter nails and no jewelry are better. Okay, so let's start with these mudras. So we're going to start with the Abhaya Hridaya Mudra. So Abhaya means fearless, and Hridaya means heart, the heart center. So this one is one of the more complicated ones, but we've already done some simpler ones earlier, so hopefully you're ready for this one. So we're going to take the right hand, and just note that you're going to do the opposite hand of me. So I'm doing my right hand, it's going to be your right hand. It's not going to look the same as me. So right hand, and it comes close to the heart. And then the left hand, the backs of the hands come together. And then from there, you're going to take the pads of the baby fingers together, pads of the ring fingers together, pads of the middle fingers together. And then the index fingers and thumbs come together to make a circle. And you nestle that right into the heart center. Okay. Now relax your shoulders. Soften your hands, close your eyes, sitting up straight. Taking deep breaths in, long breaths out. And for this one, we could use the Om mantra, but we could also use the Bija mantra or the seed mantra for the heart center. And that mantra is Yam. So Y-A-M, but the A is a soft A, Yam. So if you like, you can chant that along with me, or you can just relax and listen and feel that vibration through the screen. But it's more powerful if you do it for yourself, especially because we are online. You will feel the vibration better if you create that in your own environment, your own space where you are. Again, checking in with the face, softening the face and jaw, softening the neck, softening the shoulders, arms and hands. Softening down the whole back, but keeping the back straight. If you need to adjust, you can adjust your seated position, either legs crossed or soles of the feet flat on the floor if you're in a chair. If you're sitting cross-legged, sitting up on something if you need to help you straighten up your back. Or if you're sitting in a chair and need the support on your back, you can sit up with your back against the support. And you can focus on the mantra here. So just bringing the awareness to the heart center. Or you can also focus on the attitude of this mudra, which is the fearless heart. Yum. 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 Deep breath in. Exhale, release. Slowly release your hands and just sitting up with your hands relaxed in your lap for a moment. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes again. So that one, it's not uncommon for people to start to feel the hands fatiguing after some time because it is like more, it's definitely more complicated than some of the mudras. Did any of you guys feel that your hands were kind of not comfortable holding it for a long time? Yeah. That's totally normal. And it brings to mind something for me. It's similar to asana practice where, sometimes when we're new to the asana practice, or we're practicing a newer asana, or we're practicing a more advanced asana that our body's not used to, in the beginning when we're practicing it, the mind keeps going out to like what's happening in the physical body, like, oh my gosh, my legs are sore, or my back is sore, or whatever. So it's the same thing with the mudra practice, is that your mind in the beginning, if it's a more complicated one, your mind might be going out to the fingers or the hands or whatever, the wrists, and the mind just keeps being drawn out. But then eventually over time and with practice, the mind starts to settle and is able to, bring the focus where it's meant to be, which is either, combined with the mantra or at the place where you're holding. So for this one, it was specifically for the heart center. So bringing the focus there, or for that attitude, which is being stimulated with that mudra. For example, this one is the fearless heart, right? So this is one that, maybe is one of those ones that you don't hold quite as long if your hands are not comfortable with it, or your students' hands are not comfortable with it. But it is one that I do find that the students like to do for two reasons. One, because it's the fearless heart and everybody can kind of connect with that, feeling of, wanting to feel more confident and fearless in what we do, right? And our approach to life. And also because it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful looking mudra, right? And it feels like we're doing something extra special too, because it is a little bit complicated. So so it is one that's a little bit more complicated, but I do find that students typically like this one. So just, we did the how-to. We're really rooting the hands there at the heart center as much as possible. You're going to hold this one 5 to 45 minutes. You can hold it. 45 minutes is a long time to sit still for most people, but you could hold it up to 45 minutes. Benefits: it rejuvenates your vital life force, your prana, reduces fragmented thoughts and scattered energy, because we are making those connections. Nourishes the heart and lungs, so that's the physical aspect. Imparts vitality and calm, helps to reduce nightmares, and helps with exhaustion. So you're going to notice with a lot of these mudras, there's kind of like a laundry list of benefits with a lot of them. And that's great, because we're getting several different benefits with that. And so, for example, if you've got some issue with, your emotions, maybe we can use this one. If you've got some issue with your heart health, maybe we can use this mudra for that. If you've got, you know what I mean? So we can use it for several different purposes. But then when we're doing it for emotions, we're also getting that benefit for the physical part as well as the emotional heart, which is kind of nice. Contraindications. If you're practicing this one lying down, you just want to have your head and chest higher than your abdomen. So some sort of a raised position. So if you were doing restorative yoga, having your back resting on a ramp would be a nice way to use that mudra, right? Or you could just have like a little pillow under the head, or the head and the shoulders as well. So we want those higher than the abdomen. Ashvaratna mudra. This is the horse jewel. This is one of the ones I don't use as often, but it is an energizing mudra. And so what we do, we take the hands together, but this time we have the fingers separate. We cross these two. So index finger and middle fingers cross, and there we have it. And this one, when we hold it, we just want to relax the shoulders, relax the elbows, and we just rest the mudra, wherever it lands toward the body, right? But we're going to hold it with the fingers pointed outward Kind of looks like a head of a horse. And we hold that there. Yeah. So we can try this one. So closing the eyes again. And we'll hold this one without a mantra this time. Again, relaxing. You can always start your mudras by just doing this little check-in of the softening of the body. Softening, starting up at the forehead and the face, the jaw, moving down to the neck, shoulders, the arms and the hands softening, the whole back softening. And taking deep breaths in, long breaths out. And this is one of our energizing mudras. Helps with overall vitality, digestion, circulation, cuts through ego clinging and narrow-mindedness, and gives new perspectives on choices and life paths. Mentally, you can connect with any of those that resonated with you. And as you're holding, if at any point you start to notice that tension has crept up into the hands or other parts of the body, just make a note of it and soften those body parts again. As the mind moves, the body sometimes does start to tense up. And while we're practicing these meditative mudras, we slow down and start to notice that the body starts to create tension when there's no need for it. Just the movement of the mind creates the tension in the body. But that if we're aware, we can let it go and allow the energy to flow more freely. And better overall energy. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And slowly release your hands and open your eyes when you're ready. So that's interesting. I'll just share my own experience with that particular one today. So I've already been like over the last several weeks, I'm dealing with like kind of an overabundance of energy in this kind of area here, almost like a quick vibration of energy over here. And as I'm holding that one, I felt like it was stimulating more of that. So I didn't want to keep holding it. So it's interesting, we have to learn to listen into the body and listen into the energy and everything that's happening. And it's nice, if you're teaching these in a class, to give the students that permission as well. So that if the mudra is not resonating with them, that they're welcome to take another mudra, or they're welcome to just rest the palms to face up, you know, to collect energy, or down to close off energy, you know, if they need, right? And so, you know, like, so for someone, for example, that's already like experiencing a lot of tamas, a lot of that inertia, right? That downward pulling force. Something like this might be great, but somebody who already has a lot of rajas, or that passion and that motion, maybe they don't need this, you know? So when we're presenting the mudras, it's nice to give people permission to change things up, or take, you know, palms down if we want to close off or settle energy, palms up if we want to lift energy, right? Or receive energy. Okay. So that is the horse jewel one. And maybe that's why I don't do that one that much, because I do actually have an abundance of energy a lot of the time. Prana Mudra. Prana Mudra is one that's used in yoga. It's also used in martial arts sometimes. Prana Mudra, we take the hands open, bring the ring finger and the baby finger to meet the tip of the thumb, and the other two fingers are together. Okay. So this is our Prana Mudra. And then you want to face these palms up. This is almost like it's like a lightning rod. So we're pulling in energy, we're drawing in prana, drawing in energy with this lightning rod, and we're pulling it in towards ourselves. If we want to connect in with the energy and pull energy in from the earth, we turn the fingers down, root the fingers into the ground, and it becomes Bhu Mudra, or the earth mudra, where we're connecting in with the earth energy. So either we're pulling energy from the sun, from the air, or we're pulling it in from the earth. So you can do that two ways. And when it's down like this, it's called Bhu Mudra. So BHU, Bhu Mudra. And then that would be like if you're sitting down, for example, let's say I'm like sitting cross-legged. I just have my arms out to the sides, and my fingers are just, you know, I'm relaxed, and I don't look relaxed right now, but I am. This is the best I can do because I'm not on the ground, but my arms would be down. They would be connected with the earth, with my hands and my wrists relaxed. Okay. So this is Prana Mudra. We can hold this one up to 30 minutes per day in one session, or we can do 3 sessions of 10 minutes each. It enhances physical and mental strength, strengthens the eyes and eyesight, and reduces fatigue. So we can practice this one. So taking ring finger and little finger together with the thumb, and then the fingers together, and then turning the palms up, resting them on your knees. If you want to do that way, if you are on the ground and you want to connect in with the earth, you can do it that way as well. Closing the eyes, adjusting your seating position so that you're comfortably sitting upright. And again, checking in, doing that softening all the way down. See if you can remember. Starting at the top, softening the face, and then moving down, softening everything. On the way down to the hands, and then down the back. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes again. And so the next one is Mushti Mudra, which I showed you guys earlier, where we bring the thumb to the ring finger and then close things up. So the ring finger is our earth finger. So this is why this one is grounding, because we're connecting here. We're placing some pressure on the root there of that earth finger, right? And then we're closing things up and sealing it in. Okay, so that's this one. Mushti Mudra. Very simple to do. Yeah, and with this one, we're going to hold the hands here. Just rest the hands in the lap at the lower abdomen. So this one is helpful for digestion in the intestines. So it's a good place to do this. It's also good for stimulating apana, which is the downward moving energy, the downward moving prana. We're going to talk about the differences of how the different pranas move. But this one stimulates apana, which is the downward moving. So this is why this one is good for grounding. It's good for the lower abdomen area. It's good for clearing things up, not only from the physical body, but also the mental, emotional body, helping to release things. We release things through apana, which is our downward moving energy. Okay, so let's take that Mushti Mudra, and we'll take the hands to rest there at the lower abdomen. This one you can do 5 to 45 minutes. And if you like, you can do a little bit of Mula Bandha. So just lightly contracting your anus, just keeping the energy in. Again, we can use some of the bandhas. We're not really doing Mula Bandha entirely, just a light contraction of your anus. If you like, if that feels good. If it feels good to just be relaxed, then you can be relaxed. Again, softening the body from the top, down the shoulders, arms and hands, down the back. Taking deep, relaxed breaths to start, and then allowing the breath just to become really soft and natural. You don't really need to think too much about the breath. Just let the breath be easy and natural. So this is both an energizing mudra as well as a grounding mudra. Helps to increase vitality, but also reduces fatigue, reduces anxiety. So anxiety, the seat for anxiety is in our lower digestive system, lower abdomen. So that is the connection there. That's why when we feel anxious, we tend to feel it down in the lower part of our abdomen. This helps to strengthen digestion, eliminates nightmares, calms the mind, and imparts a sense of centeredness. So connecting in with any of those benefits that resonates with you today. Or noticing the sensation in the hands or at the lower abdomen, or a general overall sense. Maybe allowing awareness to expand to the whole self all at once, and noticing if you're feeling anything anywhere. And again, there's no right or wrong. There's no way that you should or shouldn't be experiencing this. Just noticing what is. Taking a deep breath in, long breath out. And slowly opening your eyes again and releasing your hands. Okay. Stretch out the fingers. So for those of you who did the prana mudra with the palms facing up, did you notice that this is one thing that I noticed? I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but when you're doing prana mudra, you can feel the energy kind of up in this area, but with this one, the energy is definitely awareness and energy definitely lower, like in the lower area, the centers of the body. Did you notice it? Yeah. Okay. Next, balancing and centering mudras. So we have the Hridaya Mudra, the heart mudra, and how we're going to do this one. We take the fingers, so I'm just going to do one at a time, but we take the finger, the index finger comes to, it tucks in, so it tries to tuck right to the base of itself, and then it rolls in so that the first knuckle comes towards the base of the thumb. Yeah, so it's really, we're really tucking it in tight. Yeah. And then we have the other three fingers together and the pinky extends. Okay. Like this. Yeah. And then those, so we can do it with the other hand as well, tucking it into the base of the finger and then rolling it in so that the first knuckle touches the base of the thumb. And then the thumb and ring finger and middle finger come together, pinky extended. And then for this one, again, the hands will be resting on the knees with the palms facing up. Yeah. Or if it's nighttime, we can turn them down. And so this is the Hridaya Mudra. So this is another heart mudra. So we're centering things here at the heart center. So closing the eyes, softening the head, the shoulders, the neck, all the way down the arms to the hands, down the back. And this is a mudra for strengthening the heart, releasing pent up emotion, and reducing anxiety. This is a more complicated one, so make sure to relax the hands, relax the shoulders. A few deep breaths to start. And then settling in, and you can use a mantra if you like. They'll just let you use a mantra at home if you like. The mantra for the heart center is again, Yam, like we did before. Or you can use the Om mantra. Or you can use no mantra at all, and I'll use no mantra so that if you'd like to choose one of those mantras, you won't be thrown off by my chanting. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Now releasing my hands, and when you're ready, opening your eyes again. And the next one of the balancing and centering mudras is the Mushti Mudra, which we did already. The next one's Samputa Mudra. This is a nice one as well. So kind of like what we did when we did the Hakini Mudra, right? We did this one in the beginning. But the difference is the fingers are together. The hands are together, so totally sealed off. And the heels of the hands and the thumbs are together. So we create this bud or vessel. Yeah. And we take it to the heart center. So we're taking it to the heart center with the wrists in towards the heart center. Make sure that the elbows aren't up and the shoulders aren't tense. You want to relax your shoulders, relax the elbows down, and the fingers are pointed straight ahead, forward, almost like you're holding like a little cup, like a little vessel for receiving. Okay? Yeah. And you can imagine the hands just like a vessel, receiving. You could receive really anything that you like and allow that to be received and drawn into the heart center. This mudra also balances all of the 5 elements, benefits the heart, reduces mental and emotional suffering, and is a gateway to directly experiencing our true nature. So you can again connect in with any of those benefits, those attitudes, or the attitude of receiving to the heart center. And again, because we are heart center focused, again, you could use that Yam mantra, or you could use the Om mantra, or no mantra at all. Softening whenever you notice any tension creeping into any body part. Taking a deep breath in. And a long breath out. Slowly release the hands. You can roll the wrists around. And then rest the hands. And when you're ready, open your eyes again. So that's the Samputta Mudra. And the next one is the Kashyapa Mudra. This one is the tortoise, the Kashyap. So really simple. We take our hands, stick the thumb in between the middle and the ring fingers, stick it out. And it creates a tortoise. It's a little neck and head sticking out. So this is why this one is a centering mudra. Just like the tortoise, withdrawing within its shell. This is the Kashyap mudra. We can take it with both hands. The interesting thing about this mudra is that we can use it. So if you do smudging or you do Reiki, you can use this in a similar way where you would hold your smudging sage with your right hand and your left hand is going to go behind the back. And this is for protection and for clearing of negative energies. Okay? So you can use that, or you can use, if you don't do smudging, you could use incense as well. So again, incense is used for clearing negative energies. So you can wave the incense around in the space as well for clearing the negative energies. Or you can just hold it with both hands, just resting in the lap. Okay, so let's practice this one. So you can rest your hands in your lap, or you can just take the left hand. I would do, if you're not going to use the smudging or the incense, right? Because we don't have any props available, but you can just take the other one to the back, and then the other hand, let's turn it to palm down, just so we're not pulling in energies, but we're closing off to any negative energies. And then closing your eyes. And taking deep breaths to start, relaxing the body, softening the hands. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out, maybe with a sigh. Another deep breath in. And slowly release the hands. And when you're ready, open the eyes. Okay. Yes, so that was the Kashyapa Mudra. Turning the page, we have Anjali Mudra. Let me just see where we are at. Yeah, so we're going to finish up these grounding or centering mudras, and then we're going to take a break, and we're going to do, you guys will do some Sanskrit, and then we'll come back and do some more mudras. So the Anjali Mudra, you guys are already familiar with it, right? The prayer mudra, right? We use it when we say namaste, which is, we all know namaste. So we can take the hands a little bit different. So some things to note about this. It's not just taking the palms together randomly. The fingers are together, right? Because we want to keep the mind together, right? We don't want the mind scattered. We want things together. And the thumb is just naturally resting where it is. It's not, we're not doing any effort. The thumb is just where it naturally would be. And the palms are, they are together, right? Pressed together. And we can take that at the heart center. Now we don't have to like push or anything. We're just relaxing the shoulders, and the thumbs can rest up against, again, the heart center, right? And that's the first. So if we're using Anjali Mudra and we can use it for lots of different things. So if we're, again, bringing awareness to the heart center, we can use that Yam Mudra again for the heart center here. If we are using Namaste to our friends or our family, we can use, or students, we can use this position. Yeah. Then, if we want to use this mudra for a respected elder or a teacher, or to give our prayer position a little bit more reverence, then we bring the hands to cover the face. Okay, so you're just taking your Anjali Mudra here to cover the face. Okay. And then if we want to show respect for a guru, like an enlightened sage or somebody like that, then we take the hands to the top of the head, the crown of the head. And then that's our other position. So you can kind of feel, so we're heart chakra, Ajna chakra, and Sahasrara chakra, right? The heart, point between the eyebrows, and the crown chakra, Sahasrara. It's neat how you can feel it in the different, even just, we don't even have to hold it. You can feel it in the different areas, right? Yeah. Okay. So this is the Anjali Mudra. You can hold it as long as you like. It's calming, it's centering, connection to the heart center, creates a circuit of energy because we're bringing all of these loose ends together, and it evokes feelings of humility and devotion. And then the last one that we're going to practice is the Yoni Mudra, the womb or the source, the Yoni. So for this one, we place the palms together. And then we bring these fingers, so the middle finger, ring finger, and baby finger coming together. Right, just like this. And then the index fingers come together and the thumbs come together. So we create this shape, the Yoni shape. And we hold this again in the lap at the lower abdomen. Okay. So again, this is one of those mudras of connecting in with the source. of being open and receptive. Centering, connecting energies, balancing. It's a powerful mudra. Take a deep breath in. And a long breath out. So you start to release your hands. You can wiggle them around. Move your wrists and fingers. When you're ready, open your eyes. So this Yoni Mudra, or the womb or the source, also the cross connection, in addition to the other things that I mentioned, cross connection of energies, balancing activity of the brain hemispheres, makes the body stable in meditation, develops concentration and internal physical relaxation, and redirects prana back into the body. So this is the Yoni Mudra. It's interesting as we're holding it. I'm realizing we have these three fingers are connected. So we have the middle fingers, the ring fingers, and the baby fingers. And the Yoni is the womb, right? So if you think of the physical womb, you have the element of water, you have the element of earth, right? The root, the source of life, of the physical self, the physical body, and space, right? The space. It's the most subtle element, the closest element to God, right? And this is all there, the source of life, the womb, right? And we've connected all of those energies there in the center. It's very beautiful. It's a lovely mudra, and it yeah, I enjoy holding that mudra. Also, I do find it very kind of like centering, really easy to meditate with that mudra. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Okay, so we have 1 hour left, and I don't want to rush through, but we only have 1 hour left, and we still have a lot of mudras left, and there's a little bit of learning. So I'm just going to focus on some of the more complicated ones and just making sure that you guys understand like how the hands are supposed to be. And we will talk about the benefits of the specific types of mudras. So the meditation mudras are next. So we have Bhairava mudra and Bhairavi mudra. So Bhairava is the masculine stimulating form, and that's the right palm on top of the left. So the hands are just resting comfortably on top of each other, resting in the lap. Right on top of left is Bhairava. Left on top of right is Bhairavi, and that stimulates the feminine aspect. Okay, so these are meditation mantras you could use. For example, if you are you're doing a meditation on Shiva, right? So Shiva in the masculine form. Shiva is one of the Hindu gods in a masculine form. So if you're doing a Shiva mantra in your mind or out loud while you're practicing, you can use Bhairava mudra with the right palm on top of the right hand on top of the left, right? But if you're doing maybe you're doing a Saraswati mudra, you could have the left on top of the right, right? Or Saraswati mantra, sorry. Then you could have left on top of right, one of the goddess mantras. So really, that's very simple. You can just hold it as long as your meditation goes. And then the thing in common between both of them is that it enhances the communication between the hemispheres of the brain, gives a sense of support, reduces negativity associated with the lower nature to allow more positive energies to emerge. The next is Jnana Mudra or Chin Mudra, or Gyan Mudra and Chin Mudra. So we talked about that, right? Chin Mudra, we already know that one. And then Gyan Mudra or Jnana Mudra is when we have the palm facing down. And then that is connecting the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness, right? So that's what's happening over here. Individual consciousness is this finger, and universal consciousness is the thumb. We connect the two, and so that's why we use this one for meditation. And it also creates that little circuit of energy to seal in the mind. So we're pulling in energy, but we're also creating this circuit so that the mental energies are contained rather than loose. That makes sense? The next one is Shunya Mudra. This is one, you'll see it sometimes with Buddhist statues and sculptures, images of the Buddha. You might see this one, which is Shunya Mudra. So in yoga, the absolute is presented as a fullness, but in Buddhism, it's represented as an emptiness. So emptiness, fullness, kind of two sides to the same coin, just two different ways of expressing the absolute, right? So Shunya Mudra. So with this one, we take the, yes. So this comes to the base of the, yeah, okay. Let me get this one right. Middle finger so that the tip touches the base of the thumb, and then the thumb goes on the middle finger. Yeah, okay. So middle finger is going to come to the base of the thumb, and then the thumb just rests on top there, and the other three fingers are together and pointed upward. So we've got that shape there. Okay, so this is one where the fingertips don't touch, but that we have the fingertip of the middle hand touching the base of the thumb, and then the thumb just gently rests on top. And sometimes that middle finger finds it hard to stand up straight. If you kind of connect it with the middle finger, it helps to kind of hold it up. But then again, just soften the hands once you've got it in place. Yeah, so this is the Shunya Mudra, or the emptiness mudra. And this is helping to connect in with that. This is why it's a meditation mantra, because it's helping to connect in with that, the absolute in its emptiness form, in its nothingness form. Contraindications for this one would be regular long-term practice. So the only reason for that, I mean, you can do regular long-term practice if you plan to self-realize and go beyond this Maya, this world of manifestation and illusion. But if you, as I said, if you have worldly responsibilities and you need to stay grounded in those, it's not one that you want to practice regularly. And this one is not for practicing standing or lying. It's only a seated one. You need that groundedness for that particular mudra. Okay. The next one, meditation mudra, is Brahmara mudra, the humming bee. So Brahmari, you might know, is a breathing exercise. Have you ever done that one before? Brahmari? It's where you inhale with a snoring sound and you exhale with the sound of a female bee. So it's like this. And there's different purposes to this pranayama. One is that it helps to calm the mind. So these two vibrations together, the low vibration, the rough vibration in the beginning, and then the really fine vibration at the second part, helps to create some calm in the mind. And also it's used for physical well-being in the throat, and it can be helpful for the voice as well. So if you are a singer or speaker, you can use Brahmari to help. Or if you have a cold, you have congestion in your throat and your nose, you can use that one to kind of break up the phlegm so that you have clearer breathing and clearer swallowing. So that's the humming bee one. And then so for this one, again, we take the index finger to the base of the thumb. Actually, we take both. We take index finger to the base of the thumb. And then we take the thumb to just the outside here. The outside? Yeah, the side of the nail of the middle finger. So this inside part of the nail of the middle finger, and the other fingers are extended. So we've got that connection of the index finger to the base of the thumb, and then the thumb meeting to this is kind of a hard one to hold. I find this one a little difficult. And this is a specific one too. So Brahmari, I don't practice this one very often because I don't practice Brahmari very often, but if you do like Brahmari, if you do like practicing that, this mudra you can use when you're practicing it. So you hold this, you do the Brahmari practice, and then you get those benefits as well. It just enhances the benefits that are already there from doing that pranayama. Kaleshwara Mudra, the Lord of Time. This is an interesting one. Let's do this one together. So the middle fingers are extended and everything else is brought together. So we have this shape here, and the middle fingers are sticking out from the body. So they don't point down, they point out. So extending the middle fingers, connecting the tips, bending and connecting the tips of the index, ring, and little fingers. So all of them are together. And the thumbs are also connected, but they're pointing towards your chest. Okay. So thumbs are there, but they're towards the chest. This is the Kaleshwar Mudra. So we can try this one. So this is the Lord of Time. So we are, again, connecting in with some of those source energies. Closing the eyes, taking deep breaths in. Long breaths out, relax the face, shoulders, arms, and hands. Relaxing down the back. Deep breaths to start, and then slowing down to just take relaxed breaths, effortless breaths. Mental focus for this one is eliminating negative and addictive behavior patterns and helping to be grounded in the present. And take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And then slowly release the hands, stretch them out if you need. That one I find a little bit crampy. I get cramps here in the outside parts of my hands holding that together. So that's the Kaleshwar Mudra. Next is really simple, Matangi Mudra. So we're just taking those hands All the fingers link except for the middle fingers are pointed up. The thumbs are just resting as they normally would. And again, we just rest here at the chest. We're pointing up towards the throat region. This particular mudra is good for the throat region, for speech. Again, relaxing the body, relaxing the hands. Deep breaths in. And a deep breath in. Long breath out. And slowly release your hands and open your eyes. The next one is the Hakini Mudra, which we already practiced. Shanmukhi Mudra. Has anybody done this one before? Where we cover up all of the senses? Yeah. Okay. So for this one, the index fingers come to close the eyes, seal off the eyes. Middle fingers seal off the nostrils. The ring fingers go to the upper lips. The little fingers go to the lower lips, sealing off the mouth. And then the thumbs come to the ears and press against that little part of the ear to close the holes of the ears. And we close everything at once. This is helping to close off the senses. It's a practice of pratyahara, or sense withdrawal. So taking a deep breath in, and then closing off, holding. Holding the breath in as you hold. And then when you release, you can release the nostrils. Breathe out through the nostrils. Inhale again, and then block off the nostrils. So that's how you'll keep doing it to keep practice over a longer time, is that you hold the breath and then you can just release the nostrils so that you can take a breath. But then this really helps to draw things inward, removing the distractions of the senses, and the holding of the breath is also helpful. Contraindications, so this would be one of those ones that's not great for people who are suffering from depression, but it could be good for anxiety because it just does kind of help to pull things inward. Abhaya Mudra. This is a nice one that's easy to do. It's one of the simplest ones. I use it often for that reason because it's really not complicated. But you're basically taking your hands and fingers are all together, fingers and thumbs. Everything is together this time, so the thumb's not free, it's together. And then just allowing a little curvature in the palm. So you've got this tiny little bit of a concave cup of the hands. And then you take the arms at the sides, relax your shoulders, let the elbows fall towards the body, and just let the arms, just let the hands be where they are going to be. So you don't need to use anything to help pull them in. You don't need to keep them, totally splaying out. Just take the elbows in, relax them against the body, relax the shoulders, and the arms will go wherever they go. The hands will go wherever they go. And then you close the eye. This is the fearless mudra. This is a protection mudra. Sometimes you see this one in Buddhist representations of Buddha and Buddhist meditation as well. Focusing in on that mental state of fearlessness and protection. And I'll do the chanting of Om with this one. You can join in from home if you like. If you're joining in, take a deep breath in now. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, release, relax your hands down. When you're ready, opening your eyes. Okay. So those are the meditative mudras. And now we move on to the elemental qualities, the tattvas in Sanskrit. And there's a quote here from Vasant Lad, who is a Ayurvedic doctor who lives in the States. And he's got some nice books as well, and courses, videos. And he's talking here about the tattvas, and he says the 5 basic elements exist in all matter. Matter provides the classic example, the solid state of water. Sorry, water provides the classic example, the solid state of water. Ice is a manifestation of the earth principle. Latent heat, fire in the ice, liquefies it, revealing the water principle. Eventually, water turns into steam, expressing the air principle. The steam disappears into ether or space. And then there we have the illustration of the 5 elements. All originated from energy within cosmic consciousness. And all 5 are present in all matter in the universe. Thus, energy and matter are one. Man is a microcosm of the universe, and therefore the 5 basic elements present in all matter also exist within each individual. So the important thing for us here in this practice is to understand that all of these 5 elements exist within our own bodies as well, right? So for mudra practice, we can use the hands, the hasta mudras, in order to change the composition of the elemental energies within ourselves. So we take a look at the hand, and this is on, oh, sorry. Let me just go over the elemental qualities quickly. So earth, Prithvi, is the thing that keeps things in a solid state, steady, stable, gross physical form. It's the most obvious elemental energy. We can feel it, we can smell it, we can taste it, we can touch it. This is earth. And then water, a little bit more subtle, keeps things in a liquid state. It's used for transportation, so moving of blood fluids, etc., through our body. Fire, the Agni in Sanskrit. This is a source for heat, light, electricity, and magnetism, transformation. Fire we need for digestion, the transforming of physical foods into energy. Air, Vayu, keeps substances in gaseous states. Its quality is that it is mobile and dynamic. And then the most subtle, so those are all in order of from grossest to subtlest, and ether or space, akasha, is the most subtle of all. And it is what all of the other elements manifest within. So mudra practice helps us balance these. And how we do it is with the fingers. So as I said before, like this is the finger for the water element, right? That's why it means I gotta go a number 1 in the bathroom, right? So we have, starting with earth. Earth is the middle finger, ring finger. And then we move out. So we start with earth. Earth is the grossest. Then we move out to water, which is the next most subtle. Then we move over to fire, which is the next most subtle. Then we move over to air. And finally, we finish with space. So it's this, we can think of it in this way, starting with earth and then moving all the way towards space. And if we want to stimulate these elemental energies, we take the fire, we set the fire to stimulate the energies and connect to the points. So we connect the tips. So the earth mudra, stimulating the earth mudra. Then we have stimulating the water element, stimulating the air element, stimulating the space element, and the other fingers just kind of stay upright and together. They're tucked in, always tucked in. Okay, so it's like this, like this, like this, like this. And then the fire one is a little different. The fire one, we take the earth shape, but we take the thumb to the space between the fingernail and the first knuckle. So right in there. That's how we do fire element. Okay. So there we go. This is how we do it. So now you've learned all of these. So if we want to stimulate these, we do this. Now, if you don't have the best approach with like stimulating these different things is to do all of the elements. So do a practice where you'd start with earth, and then you move to water, then you move to fire, then you move to air, then you move to space. Okay? You're going to do all of them equal amounts of time so that we can create some balance with those elemental energies. If you have a really advanced knowledge of Ayurveda, you could spend more time on specific elemental energies. So for example, if you recognize that you are lacking some of the earth element, for example, like if you are a Vata, if you have high predominance of Vata energy, which is air and space, then you have less of the earth energy. So you could hold that earth energy mudra to help to stimulate more of that for yourself, right? But you don't want to go overboard because you don't want to stimulate too much, right? So you have to be really both aware of those subtle energies within yourself and also understand the elemental energies within the context of Ayurveda. And then the other thing that you can use if you have an advanced knowledge of the elemental energies in your body, you can also decrease the amounts of those elemental energies in your body. And in order to do that, you bring the fire to the base of those fingers. And I forget how to do it because I'm not sure how to do those, but you would bring the thumb to meet the base. I think it's like this. No, can't figure it out. I don't use it because I don't have an advanced knowledge of Ayurveda, but you can, just so you know, if you do have that and you are researching beyond this course, there is a way to use the mudras to decrease and also to stimulate the elemental energies within you. Okay, so that's the tattva mudras. And oh, let's see, yeah. No, it is this. To reduce, it's written in here. To reduce the amount of an element, you touch that element fingertip to the base of the thumb and cover with the thumb. So, for example, if I wanted to decrease the elemental energy of air, so this would be to increase the elemental energy of air. To decrease it, I bring it to the base and then just wrap the thumb on top. Or I would take this and wrap the thumb on top. Or I would take this and wrap the thumb on top. And I would take this and wrap the thumb on top. So technically, yeah, this is the Shunya mudra, is it not? Yeah. It's this one. Yeah. So the Shunya mudra is the same as the decreasing of the element of space, which is interesting because it's emptiness. which you would think is the increasing. Yeah, the decreasing of space would be emptiness, the lack of anything, including space. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, we figured it out. Okay. The next is the category of mudras for stimulating the pranas, the energies in the body, and the different ways that they move. So, just to give an overview of the 5 pranas, we have prana, which is the inward moving energy. So when we breathe in, that is prana, the prana type of prana. It's confusing because there's prana is one of the types of prana. The word is used twice. So it's the forward moving energy. It's when we pull in. So prana pulls in energy for us. It fuels us. That's the effect of prana energy. Then we have apana. Apana is the downward moving energy, or the air that moves away. So this one is helping us to release. So it could be releasing things in the physical body, menstruation, going to the bathroom, having a baby. This is all the effects of apana, but also helps us to release mental and emotional concepts, feelings, etc. So apana is for that. Udana is upward moving air. It helps us to give us positivity in life. It helps us to stand up straight. It helps us to be awake. This is udana. Samana is we did this samana mudra already, right? So I talked about the fact that it is from the out moving in. So from the periphery moving in, and it takes this churning motion. So it's like the churning of the digestive system, the churning of food within the stomach, the idea of this churning. And this also helps us to digest not only food, but also to help digest ideas, emotions, things that the senses are picking up, etc. And then Vyana is the opposite of Samana. Vyana is going from the center and moving out. So if you think about the blood moving out from the heart, right? This is Vyana. If you think about the nadis moving out from that central Sushumna nadi, this is also Vyana, this moving from the center outward. Okay. And yeah, and this helps with circulation, helps to keep emotions and thoughts moving, and it assists all of the other pranas. There's a little bit to read here. I will let you guys read that on your own rather than just reading through it. But that is a little bit more detail about the 5 pranas. Basically, it just says in more detail what I just said. And then the prana mudras, yeah, they help the body and mind to function properly, right? So on the physical level, but on the emotional level, on the energetic level, on all the different levels, these prana mudras can help us. And as I said before, wherever there are nerve endings in the body, so like fingers and toes, we can leak energy, so the mudras help to seal it in. And there are no mantras for the prana mudras because, well, they are associated with specific areas of the body, but I'm not sure why there are no mudras for them, but this is how I was taught by my teacher. Okay, so now we have prana mudra. We did it already, right? So we bring the pinky, middle ring finger and thumb together, and then the other 2 fingers are in a line and those are facing up, so we can like a rod to pull in the energy. Okay, this is the prana mudra. Apana mudra, we take those same two, no, we take these two fingers. This is a hard one to do for me, for my hand. My hand doesn't like this. So we have the hand like this, and then we bring the thumb, the first finger, and the second finger together. This is the one for Apana. Then we have Vyana. And then we take these two, bring them to the thumb, and keep the fingers tucked in. This is Vyana Mudra. And then Udana Mudra is completely different. So we take the right hand, we bring everything together. So it's just kind of like Samana Mudra, but we have the index finger pointed up. The left hand, so that's the right hand, your right, not mine. And then the left hand, same thing. So we take that Samana Mudra, but we stick the pinky out. And then we bring the right wrist on top of the left wrist. Pinky points down, index finger points up, and we hold here. And I believe, yeah, so we're just resting again. We're just resting the shoulders, resting the elbows against the body, resting the wrists against the body, and just holding there. You guys can't see what's going on, but we're just holding like this. And this is for Vyana Mudra. So this is the one that takes the energy from the center out, which you can, it's kind of illustrated by this pose, right? The energy is going out and it's going out from the center via the two fingers. And then we have the Samana Mudra, which we did in the beginning, where we have this. So again, you can use these mudras, like if you recognize that you're lacking a little bit of positive energy, you might want to do the Udana Mudra. If you notice you're lacking a little bit of fuel, you might do the Prana Mudra. If you feel like digestion is poor, you might want to do, right? So you're just choosing which one based on how you're feeling. Or you can do a practice where you do, 3 to 5 minutes of each one. So you have this nice balanced completed practice with a little bit of stimulation for each of the energies. And that's kind of a nice, the ones for the Tatra, the tattvas, the elemental energies, and the one here for the pranas, those are nice little packages that you can like add into your classes if you want to add it into a class where, yeah, you do like 3 to 5 minutes of each one of these, and then you've got this nice little package which is a really nice balanced practice, nice balanced sequence. Okay. Oh, and that's it. That's it for mudras. So mudras, we just want to talk a little bit. We have a tiny bit of time left and just enough to cover the rest here, and then answer any questions you guys have or thoughts or anything else that you'd like to share before you finish. So teaching tips. As I said before, not everybody's going to notice sensations of energy flow, of prana, of elemental energies within themselves, or any of this stuff. Some people are not going to notice anything other than the physical body. That's totally fine. As I said, they're getting benefit anyway, even if they don't know it. And they're slowing down, they're turning inward, and they're physically doing something with the hands, with the energy currents, connecting them so that they might start to become aware of more subtle sensations within themselves. You're going to look for a straight spine. Always help students if they need to sit up on something to straighten the spine in order, maybe sit against a wall, sit in a chair, whatever it is, but looking for that straight spine, including the neck, right? So you don't want, you might have a great, nice straight back, but then if the head is kind of like lifting up or the head is like this, it's not ideal. We really want the chin parallel to the ground and the top of the head lifting up so that there's this nice straight line through the spine that energy can travel through. And if you practice yourself, maybe you've done it in meditation before or in pranayama practice, but like you can play around with like the positioning of your neck, your shoulders, your back, your chest, noticing like movements in your spine, whether the tailbone is tucked back, whether the chin is dropped or lifted. And if you do it when you're already relaxed, you might, or even without, if you're already sensitive to energies, but especially if you're already relaxed, the mind is quieted down a little bit, and you try these little adjustments, you'll kind of find the position where you feel it. You feel, oh yeah, this is definitely the position where the energy is flowing freely. And if you shift out of that position, it instantly it's like a valve, almost like a water valve, like it just shuts off. It feels different, completely different. But if you get it in the right spot, you'll feel it's just like it feels like a free flow, like as if the tap has been completely opened. So you can play around with that and see, and you can help your students to play around. Yeah, if there's tension or pain in the knees, if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, you can always put something under the knees to just kind of lift them up. Or if the opening of the hips and crossing the legs is too much, again, prop something up underneath the knees to help support. The traditional order of things follows the same order as Ashtanga Yoga, as the 8 steps, the 8 limbs, the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. So asanas first. If you're going to do like, let's say you wanted to do like a complete yoga practice, the correct order to do things is from gross to subtle. So you would do asanas first because they're dealing with the physical body. It's the grossest level of awareness. Then you would do pranayama next after asanas, because that's the next most subtle level, right, of awareness. Then you would move into pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. So maybe you do something like, well, like some of these are specifically for withdrawing the senses. So you could use it in there. But maybe you do like a practice like yoga nidra is also a practice of pratyahara. You could do that practice there. Then concentration, meditation, and mudra is kind of could be anywhere between the pratyahara stage and the meditation stage or after, anywhere in there, depending on how you want to use it. If you're focusing on energies, it could go after pranayama. If you're focusing on meditation, then it goes up to the meditation part. If you're using it for sense withdrawal, then you're using it at the pratyahara level, right? Does that make sense? So this is just from a traditional perspective. If you want to move your awareness in order from the grossest levels to the most subtle. And then if you're practicing a whole sequence, we talked about the warm-ups. And then sequencing a mudra practice. So how do you match these all together? Well, you would start with a warm-up that's appropriate to the practice and the length of the practice. For beginners, you might choose 3 to 5 mudras where you're holding for, it's like if you were doing a full practice, you could hold each for 15 minutes. More realistically, you're doing like 3 to 5 minutes each mudra for beginners. And then being mindful of which mudras you're choosing for yourself or for your students. So thinking about, this goes into contraindications, but thinking about, what is the purpose for your practice? Is the purpose of your practice to feel heart-centered? Is the purpose of your practice to help your physical health? Is the purpose of your practice, think of your themes, right? So it's like our yoga classes, sometimes we like to have themes, similar, just choosing what you want to get out of your mudra practice. Yeah, you can have the mudras, as I said, just at the end of the class. That's totally fine. Even if you have mudras out of order, it's okay. You can start the class, like starting the class with a mudra is also okay. Because the reality is, if you're holding a mudra, let's say you have like a 60-minute yoga class, and you're holding, you've got a lot of asanas you want to get through. So, but you also want to incorporate mudras and introduce those to your students. So maybe you start with a mudra practice. Maybe you're not starting with a mudra practice that's getting anyone into a deep meditative state or different state of consciousness, but maybe you start with one that just helps to create the attitude of the class that you're about to teach. So if you're about to teach a vigorous vinyasa class that takes a lot of energy, maybe you take prana mudra in the beginning to help people draw in the energy that they're going to need, the fuel that they need in order to do that vigorous vinyasa. If the purpose of your class is to calm down, maybe you're going to take something like the kashyap mudra, right? The tortoise, where we can center ourselves to bring our senses inward, right? So that we can help to calm ourselves. So you can use these mudras just for the mental attitude that they bring as well. Yeah. So even if you're not holding it long enough to get like too much of the energetic benefits, you're still going to get the mental benefits out of it. The people are already going to feel like, oh yeah, okay, so I'm bringing my mind into the idea of turning inward, and they get it, and then that sets the tone for the rest of the class that you're going to teach. So you can do it out of order like that. It can be really useful and really nice. Yeah, and you can get creative with the application. So you might do a mudra and meditation practice, a mudra and yoga nidra practice. You could do everything all together. You can combine these with sound healing, with Reiki, with whatever you want. As I said, they're very versatile. They're very accessible. So you can add them into whatever you'd like. And another thought is to also use the mudras. Maybe you use the same mudra at the beginning of the class and the end of the class. So let's say you were doing that class of turning inward and you use that tortoise mudra. You did it at the beginning of the class and then you did it again at the end of the class, and you ask the students to notice if they notice any difference between the feelings and the sensations and the thoughts that they had when they did it the first time and when they did it after the rest of the practice that you just delivered to them. So that is another way of helping them become more aware of what's going on inside of them. Let's see. There is a section here. I'm not going to read it out, but there's a section here about Ayurveda and Mudra Yoga. So if you are interested in Ayurveda, you can read through this on your own. And I give a little bit of like an explanation of the 3 different doshas and guidelines for balancing those doshas. And then the next page is just a little worksheet so that you can think about what would be some specific mudras that would be good for those specific doshic imbalances. So for example, Vata, again, has the elemental energies of space and air. So it's a very, the mind is kind of like out in the clouds, right? The energy is kind of out and about and free flowing and very mobile. So something like that tortoise is going to do the opposite, which is exactly what someone with a Vata imbalance is going to need, is to take all of that air and that space energy and turn inward, to take some of that to help with grounding, right? So that would be a very good mudra for someone with a vata imbalance or a lot of vata. Yeah, and so you can use that worksheet to help you develop for yourself. So if you recognize what dosha imbalance that you have for yourself, what your constitution is, you can develop that for yourself, or you could even do like a special workshop for, you know, in the fall season, which is the season of vata. You know, everything starts to turn dry, everything, you know, there's the wind, the air element, right? So a lot of element of air and space at that season. And so it's a good season to do a vata balancing practice. So that could be a whole workshop in itself, doing a vata balancing workshop during the fall season. And then there's another worksheet here for your own mudra practice. So I definitely suggest you guys to, if you haven't already, try out the mudra yoga practice that I sent you guys, the link to the YouTube video. Try that one, see how you feel about that. You'll get another idea, another example of how a full mudra practice can look. And then think about how you will try these out, because the best way, you know, this is just a one-day course, right? So the best way to learn mudras is by doing mudras, by practicing them yourself, by noticing what you feel, by noticing, you know, little things like, oh, my body tends to tense up. And so, you know, you're going to have to remember to not only remind yourself, but if you have students, reminding them also to relax if they notice things tensing up. And really the best way to learn is by doing it for yourself. So I definitely suggest, in addition to like teaching a session as part of your homework, just for yourself to, like, you know, set aside a specific time, like say to yourself, you know, for the next month, I'm going to do a mudra practice once a week or every morning or whatever it might be. But just, and making a plan, which specific mudras do you want to incorporate and what are your goals and what mudras would you use based on what your goals are. So this is just a little worksheet to help you to think about that so that you can get started with that. It's always good to write things down. You might already have some ideas in your mind, but I definitely encourage you to put the actual pen to the paper, because new ideas come up. No matter when we put the pen to the paper, more ideas will start to come up, and it seems more real. It becomes more of a commitment for yourself so that you actually will start to do those practices on a regular basis. Yeah. So that's everything. We've covered it all. We've covered it all, or at least all that we have for this particular course. So, yeah, I'd love to hear if you guys have any questions. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about, you know, how you think, you know, do you think you might try to use these for yourself? Do you think you will share them with others in your yoga classes or friends and family? I've had students in the past who, you know, because they need to do their homework in order to get the certificate for the course, but they don't teach yoga yet. And so they'll do the practice with a family member. And so that's something that you can do as well. And it's a lovely, you know, that's a lovely experience in itself, to give a family member another tool. Like, this is what mudras are, right? It's another tool in the tool belt of things that we can use to help ourselves. All right, so let's finish with a mantra to close off our session. So we'll sit comfortably, and I'll invite you to take any mudra that really resonated with you today. Hopefully there's at least one mudra that you remember that really caught your attention, and you can just take that mudra, closing your eyes, taking a few deep breaths. Softening face and jaw, softening the neck and the shoulders, and softening all the way down the arms to the hands, down the back and the hips, finding that straight spine where you feel the energy flowing effortlessly. And connecting in with the attitude or the energy or the physical benefit of that mudra that you're holding. Taking a moment to appreciate what you've learned, what you take away with you from this course today. Appreciating yourself for taking the time for your personal growth. We'll keep our mantra really simple to close our session today. We'll do 3 ohms and 3 shantis using the knowledge of chanting Om and feeling the energy moving from the lower chakras up to the higher chakras each time we chant. 3 ohms and then 3 shantis. Taking a deep breath in to begin. Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you very much.